UFC 327. We have it going this Saturday. Yuri Prochazka taking on Carlos Ulberg. We were supposed to have Tatsuro Taira and Joshua Van on this event. It got moved to 328, so that'll be in New Jersey. But for this one, we're in Miami. And the card's not bad. I wouldn't say it's good. It's good in the sense that we have a lot of close matchups that we don't really know what's going to happen, which is a good thing. As MMA fans, we like to be surprised. So we'll see how well I do on this whole prediction thing. Haven't been too hot as of late, but let's get it going. Starting out the card, we have Charles Radke versus Francisco Prado. I'm gonna take Radke here, a little bit reluctantly though, and that's actually gonna be the case for a lot of these. The thing that kind of swayed me was that Francisco Prado lost to Daniel Zellhuber, who we have seen as of late is not what a lot of people thought that he once was. And on the other side of things, you can look at Charles Radke and say that he is pretty well-rounded in the sense that he can find a way to win a fight based off of just all of the tools that he has. And a lot of times that does make the fight boring because he will push you up against the fence if he fails takedowns, and he will just like work in knees or pitter-patter shots and slowly take you to a decision. He will mix in takedowns. A lot of his takedowns are just off of blast double legs, and he doesn't really have any sort of like brute strength where he's like body locking guys and throwing them around. It's mostly off of the double leg, but when he doesn't complete the takedown, he's very willing to just hold you up against the fence. And if you're not going to circle off of it, then you're kind of screwed. On the other side of things, Francisco Prado to me, I think is just a little bit too inexperienced. From recent memory, he hasn't built off of his losses at all. Even in the Daniel Zellhuber fight, you would expect him to kind of make strides against a striker of any sort, really, especially against Daniel Zellhuber. And then he fights Jake Matthews, and it's kind of the same story. And then they give him a different style matchup in Nikolai Varetnikov. And Varetnikov, I believe, had like mount on him in that fight for a little bit, and it went to a split decision, and he's just losing decision after decision after decision, and there's not really much growth. So I just think that he's a little bit untested. He's 23, and it's too much of a stretch for me to say that there's going to be some extreme game plan change and the experience isn't going to play a factor for Radke. So from a technical standpoint, I would say that Prado is probably the more clean and technical striker in the sense. He's not exactly powerful, but I would say that he's maybe a little bit more clean cut. But in terms of like fight IQ and understanding positions, understanding where to be in the octagon, there's a lot to be asked, I feel like. And I'm not going to bank on the fact that he's just going to flip the script in this one. So we're going to take Charles Radke. I think he gets this done by decision. The only way that Francisco Prado has lost either. He's never been finished. So I think that the way that he does lose is probably via decision. So we'll go with that. Up next on the card, we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. And I'm actually going to take Kelvin Gastelum here. We'll see if he even fucking makes weight. I doubt it. And if he doesn't make weight, the UFC might at this point just call it off and cut him. But we'll see. Gastelum is one of those fighters who is more boxing heavy than anything, and he tends to kind of lunge in and fight on the inside. And a lot of his combinations are just that slapping, either 3-2 or 1-2. And a lot of his work just gets done in close because he's built like a bowling ball. On the other side of things, Luque isn't as durable as he once was, obviously. I mean, after you drop 13 fights on your record, you're obviously not going to be as durable as you once were. I see a lot of people talking about the submission threat here, but from the film, Vicente doesn't offensively wrestle to get to the submissions. It's usually when the other fighter that he's facing starts the grappling sequence, then he's like, okay, I guess we're going to this now. He's not offensively trying to, all right, let's get into the clinch so I can grab this front headlock position and crump them down so that we can get into a grappling sequence or take them down or anything of that sort, really. He's typically kind of like on the outside, and he does have heat in his hands, but his striking defense has a lot to be asked, and that, I mean, hence why he gets put out a lot of the time. But on the other side of things, Gastelum does have power as well. I just think that Vicente is at the end of the road here. I mean, even in one of the most recent fights, he wanted to quit on the stool. He was over. I think it might have been the Joel Alvarez fight. I could be wrong. His corner was like, no, you're not quitting. But he wanted to. He wants out, dude. So I just have to assume based off of even just that alone, that's like, does he really even want to be here in the first place? If I had to guess, I would say no. So I'm not going to trust him to win a fight. Even if it's against a guy that is, morbidly obese in Kelvin Gastelum. I'm just going to assume that Gastelum is able to push forward, get on the inside as he does, and land that 1-2, land the 2 over the top, get in dirty boxing, make it kind of ugly. I can see a finish happening here for Gastelum late, but the more likely outcome is probably a decision, and I'm going to take Gastelum. And I do think that this might possibly be the end of the road for Vicente Luque. Up next on the card, we have Markel Medeiros versus Chris Padilla. This is actually a banger fight. This is like one of my favorite fights on the card, I think. People who have watched my breakdowns know that I've actually been really high on Chris Padilla for a while, but I'm going to take Markel Medeiros. Chris Padilla has been an underdog in each and every single one of his fights in the UFC, and he's won all of them, to be fair. The thing with Chris Padilla is he always has a good game plan. I think his fight IQ is probably his strongest point because he's not necessarily good at like really, really good at anything. He's well-rounded, but there's nothing that he can really fall back on other than like, okay, this is the way that I need to win the fight. Once they do get in there, obviously, he kind of flips the script and finds a way to win. And there's actually a few other guys on this card that are like that. The way that he usually goes about doing that is through the grappling, but that's not going to work against Markel Medeiros, I don't think, because his takedown defense is really, really good. His low kicks are nasty, so I think Chris Padilla, if he is pushing forward and he is trying to find that takedown to make it kind of ugly, to kind of grind up, get control time, maybe get a submission if he's able to get Markel down, if that's his game plan or thought process, I don't think it's going to work. He's going to be running into low kicks. Markel Medeiros' boxing is really good, keeps a high guard, doesn't really let anything connect clean on the chin. He rolls with shots well. I think Markel Medeiros has one of the higher ceilings of this younger class of lightweights, and he looked really good in his last fight. Granted, it was to Mark Chwinski, and the fight before that was Austin Hubbard, but at the same time, it's like, I see this as kind of like an Ethan Ewing and Rafael Estevam type of a deal. Maybe not to that extent, but I see Markel Medeiros' striking being a problem, especially on the back foot. He's shown he can counter strike at a very high level for 15 minutes. Either way, whoever does win this, I think both of these guys are solid. I'm going to take Medeiros. I'm going to take him by decision. Up next on the card, we have Tatiana Suarez versus Lupi Godinez. I'm going to take Godinez here. And actually, I'm going to look and see what everyone else is taking. A lot of people are taking Suarez. Wow, 86% are taking Tatiana Suarez. So the problem that I have with that is that Lupi is very good at scrambling. She's really good at getting back to her feet. Her takedown defense isn't necessarily like top-notch good. It is okay, but her scrambles back to the feet, she fights like a Mexican would. Like you would expect a Mexican to just kind of be a spaz, never give up. You can't really hold him down or keep him in one spot. It's how Lupi is. And on the feet, I think that Patchy Mix is kind of rubbing off on Tatiana Suarez a little bit because her striking defense is abysmal. It's not good at all. Lupi obviously throws in combination, forward pressure. I think she's going to nonstop be back on the feet, back on the pressure, pushing Tatiana back. I think eventually the tide's going to turn and Lupi's going to be able to get this done. On the feet, Tatiana Suarez is, at least offensively, she doesn't really have much. A lot of it is kick oriented. She doesn't really throw much with the hands. But even with the kicking attacks, like it's nothing to like, oh, but she has like high kicks or low kicks. Like, no, it's not that. Like, nothing that she does on the feet is very impressive. So the way that I see this, it's like if she's not able to hold Lupi down, because she doesn't really have much of a submission game. She doesn't really have much of ground and pound. She does, like, she has a little bit of ground and pound. I'll give her that. But if she's not able to hold Lupi there and control her, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see Tatiana Suarez being able to hold down Lupi Godinez, dude. And the stand-up game is night and day. I'm going to take Lupi. I'm going to take Lupi by decision. I think she scrambles up from bottom position too well, and Tatiana is helpless on the feet. Up next on the card, we have Mateusz Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovic. I'm going to take Gamrot here. So Mateusz Gamrot is obviously an offensive wrestler, and a lot of people actually think that his stand-up game isn't the best. And on the other side of things, Esteban Ribovic, he's a forward pressure style of fighter where he's going to basically just throw as many strikes as he can once he gets into range and try and overwhelm you. The problem in that is that Esteban has been taken down before at a decently high clip. He does scramble back to his feet and he does always keep the pressure on, but I think that Gamrot is being underrated on the feet a little bit. I think that his boxing is actually pretty solid, and he has heat in his hands too. Not a lot of people are talking about that. He's wobbled a few guys before with shots that you look at him and you're like, oh, that's weird. Like, he didn't connect that clean, but the guy's doing stanky leg. What the fuck? And defensively, he is actually pretty defensively responsible on the feet. Obviously, I don't think that's going to matter very much in terms of this matchup because Esteban's just going to be throwing from all angles. Probably going to be hard to keep track of for anybody. So if Esteban throws, he probably will land on like 99% of the roster. But I think Gamrot's wrestling is too good. It's way too good. And his top pressure is good. Guys will get back up to the feet, but he has shown a persistence to keep getting in on the single legs that those kind of weird he has weird single legs actually, now that I'm thinking about it. He has like these single legs, he's like kind of holding onto him in like a weird angle, but he still somehow is able to snatch it down. And he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop the forward grappling momentum that he has. I think in this kind of a style where Ribovic is walking forward so much and he's trying to unload strikes, I think all that's going to do is draw out a shot from Gamrot. I think that the best way of Esteban winning this is probably landing a flush knee when Gamrot does dive in on that single leg. I think that's too much of a long shot. So I'm going to take Gamrot. I think that this is going to be kind of reminiscent of the Ludovic Klein fight where people were like, oh, Ludovic Klein, volume striker, decently well-rounded kick game, tons of strikes, tons of angles, good takedown defense to an extent. And actually, this is what I said about Ludovic Klein. I was saying that Klein is going to take out Gamrot. I think that this style of matchup is literally just a copy and paste of that. So I'm taking Gamrot. I'm taking him by decision here. Up next on the card, we have Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. Yuck. I'm going to take Randy Brown? Ooh, I don't know if I like that. You know what? I'm going to take Randy Brown just because he's kind of one of my favorite lower level fighters. Randy Brown has the style of using his range very effectively. Not necessarily effectively as of late, obviously, because he lost to Gabriel Bonfim. But I think, for one, I just think from a kickboxing standpoint that Kevin Holland is just inherently worse than Randy Brown is. I think that Kevin Holland doesn't use his length nearly as well as Randy does. I love the teep game. I love the kicks to the body. I love all of the different kicks to the body that Randy throws. He has good low kicks. He has that snapping 1-2 that he throws. Where on the other side of things, Kevin Holland, a lot of times, people will bring up the grappling, and he's kind of the same way that Luque is, where it's like, all right, if someone shoots, I guess I can rip a guillotine, or I can sprawl and get to that front headlock and look for a Darce or an Anaconda, or I can use my long limbs off my back. Otherwise, there's not really an offensive grappling presence that Kevin Holland possesses. And I think that Kevin Holland's shots that he throws are just a little bit too long and overextended, almost like he kind of swings his shots out. Like even in the knockout that he had against Santiago Ponzinibbio, he really he lunged and fully extended himself in a very almost slow type of a way to connect that shot. I don't think you can do that with Randy Brown, dude. He's too sniper oriented on the back foot where he's gonna land that piston right hand if you step in too close, and he has his feet set. So there's that, and I think that Kevin Holland's durability is really starting to go downhill. And we've seen that in a few of his fights recently where even against Mike Malott, he was kind of getting tuned up. Daniel Rodriguez, he got up a few times really bad. This is 50-50. Don't bet on this fight whatsoever. This fight is fucked. I have a disdain for Kevin Holland, and I have a small fandom for Randy Brown, so I'm going to roll with Randy Brown here. I'll take him by either late TKO or decision. Up next on the card, we have Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico. Oh my God, this is the same thing, dude. I don't know what to do. I'm going to take Patricio Pitbull by KO. Is that crazy? Is that crazy? Am I crazy for doing that? I just switched my pick. I had Aaron Pico by decision. I just switched it. I think Pitbull's going to get a KO. So in this matchup, it's going to be kind of actually reminiscent of the Lerone Murphy fight, I think, where obviously Aaron Pico, he kind of just like shuffles forward in his nonstop pressure, nonstop takedown threats, nonstop just trying to cut the cage off and get you in a weird spot. On the other side of things, I think Pitbull is kind of a one-shot KO or bust type of a fighter, at least as far as this matchup goes. And it really is just a matter of whether or not Pitbull lands. Because if he doesn't land, he probably just gets out-grappled against the fence for 15 minutes and it's boring. But I've noticed a lot in the Aaron Pico fights, he gets tuned up, bro. Like, even in the Lerone Murphy fight, I see this narrative that he was, like, doing well. Go look back at that fight. Like, Lerone was on the back foot just sparking him up the whole time. The only reason that people were saying that is because Pico was moving forward. And then guess what happened? He was moving forward, but he probably ate, like, 4, 5, 6 clean shots. And then eventually the spinning elbow comes, and all of a sudden the narrative is like, oh, well, he was doing good before that. I just don't think so. I've rewatched it. Like, it's not, that is not what happened. That is not what happened. And even in the fights back in Bellator, he gets hit really easily. And with a guy so experienced like Patricio Pitbull, I'm just going to assume that he's going to be able to find the shot. He's 38. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. I don't want to talk about this. I'm like stressing about my picks now because I started the year out on just heaters, just like 1 or 2 fights wrong on every card. And recently I've been in the bed. So I'm like freaking out about this. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I think Patricio Pitbull lands. How about that? Moving on. Up next on the card, we have Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr. I don't know why this isn't the opening fight of the card. Like, it should be after Charles Radke and Francisco Prado, but I guess, you know. I'm going to take Nate Landwehr. Cub Swanson, you were retired. You had a great send-off. Why are you coming back? You're 87 years old. Retard. For people unaware, Cub Swanson is the type to kind of almost... He's kind of a brawler. A lot of his setup or game plan is centered around the fact that he's trying to land the overhand right, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you're 42 and you're not as fast as these other guys and you've already retired and you're fighting a guy that's probably going to be okay to eat the overhand right 10, 15 times in a row and keep walking forward. I mean, like, what are we doing? Cub Swanson has a good game plan going into every fight. I'll say that. His fight IQ isn't necessarily bad, but he's 42, dude. Nate Landwehr might actually be close in age. Oh, he's 37. See, we're not far off there. Nate Landwehr can take a lot of shots on the chin unless you're actually like super powerful, which in this sense I don't think that Cub Swanson really has that type of one shot sit you down type of power. So I think Nate Landwehr probably chews through a ton of shots and just keeps moving and eventually breaks Cub Swanson and he TKOs him late. So much for a good send-off there, Cub Swanson. I don't know why he's doing this, dude. But yeah, I think Nate Landwehr is probably going to get a TKO late here. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong and Cub Swanson does land that bomb right hand and it does put him out. And in that sense, I wouldn't be mad at that. I would just hope that at that point, if that does happen, you need to fucking retire, bro. You're not Glover Teixeira, okay? We're fighting Nate Landwehr, bro. This isn't Glover versus Yuri type of shit. Okay. Up next on the card, we have Johnny Walker versus Dominic Reyes. Oh my God, dude. So many fucking toss-ups on this card. I'm taking Johnny Walker. Dominic Reyes just doesn't have the amount of output and the amount of high-level footwork that I would want for someone when they're moving forward. And in a lot of Johnny Walker fights, he's not really moving forward. He's kind of pulling the other guy to him. And he's slapping low kicks. And every once in a while, when they do get close, he'll throw a flying knee or he'll clinch and he'll do some crazy shit. But for the most part, he is on the back foot, blasting teeps, blasting low kicks, working off of weird, funky combinations with stance switches, hopping around. Dominic Reyes doesn't chase, bro. He is the type, he's the counter striker type of guy. And I know we saw a different style of that against like John John Jones, where he's on the front foot piecing up John Jones. That's different. John Jones, his weak point is his boxing defense, so it's probably why it worked well for Dominic there. But in every other, like, Reyes doesn't do well when he's moving forward, dude. Never. Like, he needs to set a trap that you're gonna walk into. So I'm taking Johnny Walker by decision. Or like a brutal flying knee, dude. Something crazy, possibly. But just that alone, that is really the only breakdown that I have for that, is like, just the majority of Reyes' success, I think, just comes too much on the fact that he's pull countering you and he's setting traps on the back foot and he can work off of that, which a lot of times does get him into trouble, and he will get put out like that. But he's not as athletic as Johnny Walker is. I think Johnny Walker will be on the back foot, blasting low kicks, being weird, hard to hit. I'm gonna take Johnny Walker here. Up next on the card, we have Curtis Blades versus Josh Hockett. I'm taking Curtis Blades. Both of these guys are considered to be wrestlers. Josh Hockett, I know that maybe as of his UFC tenure, he's not necessarily looked at that way, because a lot of the times he's KOing people on the feet with just throwing left hook, right hook, left hook, right hook, left hook, right hook, left hook, right hook, left hook, right, just over and over and over and over and over and over. And eventually they just fold and break because they're fat and they don't know what they're doing in their heavyweights. And it works because it's heavyweight. And Josh Hockett is athletic, and that is probably another reason why he's having success, is because he's a lot faster than these fat that we have signed to this godforsaken promotion. But Curtis Blades is like top-notch heavyweight material, dude. And Hockett's gonna slow down, bro. He's going to. Like, even in the last one where he flipped the dude off and he TKO'd him, like, he was still kind of like slowing down a little bit. But I think Curtis Blades, his counter wrestling and his scrambling is way better than Josh Hockett's is. He's going to be way bigger, too. Josh Hockett is way too undersized, I think. I think he should be a 205er. And I think we're throwing him up the rankings way too quick. Curtis Blades' boxing isn't necessarily bad, actually. I think that he actually has a good jab. I think his straight shots are good. Other than that, it is maybe a little bit worrisome. I don't think that he has much of a kicking game. I think defensively, if you throw weird angles at him, that's where he can get caught. But Josh Hockett doesn't throw at weird angles, tons of volume and combinations. It's just hooks. It's just 3-4, 3-4, 3-4, 3-4, 3-4, over and over and over, walking forward. I think that you have to be kind of methodical in the whole foot position game. I think that you really need to have, like, extreme power and the ability to unload in different combinations, different angles, in order to put Curtis Blades away, like a Tom Aspinall did, where he got outside foot position, he was able to put him down. Sergey Pavlovich, unload in combination and had the ability to cut the cage off. Hockett doesn't do that, dude. He just, like, tries to blast a double leg. It fails. He'll push you up against the fence, keep throwing these little pitter-patter shots in the clinch. You break from the clinch, and he's just walking forward throwing hooks. And he's annoying. So, like, I understand that he is trying to get people to hate him so that he can make money. And it's working, but I want to see him unconscious. Is it that, I mean, do I have to explain myself any further? I saw a thing today saying that Josh Hockett is to Colby Covington what Sean O'Malley is to Conor McGregor. It's that kind of a deal, you know? So, yeah, I'm taking Curtis Blades, and I'm taking him by TKO or submission in the second or third round. Up next on the card, we have Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Dude, I'm going to take... Oh my God, I'm going to do so bad on this card. I can feel it. I'm going to take Paulo Costa. Is that crazy? Oh, no. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to take Paulo Costa. But stylistically, Azamat Murzakanov is kind of just a boxer. He doesn't really have much else. There's no kicking game. It's not really a grappling game, offensively at least. I know that defensively, grappling, he is actually pretty solid. He'll get his underhooks. He'll be able to circle off the fence. Things like that. And on the other side of things, Paulo Costa is kind of a kickboxer. He has nasty body kicks. He has heat in his hands, typically looping shots, not too many straight shots. But I think he is just more versatile in the kicking game. And with an open stance in this matchup, I think that benefits Paulo Costa's body kicks too much. And we've seen Azamat slow down in the second and third round of fights. And I think with Paulo having the access to that body kick is going to wear on the gas tank even more. And I think eventually he's going to be able to finish Azamat, dude. I can see a body shot. I don't know why. I'm curious though to see if Paulo can go 15 minutes because he is moving up. This is at 205. So for all we know, he has like 3 minutes of fight in him and he's toast. So that is a worry. I'm taking a little bit of a shot in the dark here, assuming that he will be able to go the 15 minutes and he will be able to keep the pressure up, keep the body kicks going, stay out of range. Don't let Azamat get in close where he's super, super good like he was against Rakic, where eventually he kind of almost set a trap for Rakic to kind of slowly get in close, and then all of a sudden the right hand came and he dropped him and put him out. I trust Paulo not to fall into that. I think Paulo has trouble with the longer guys, and when Paulo is the longer guy in this sense, I think it helps him a lot. I'm going to take Paulo. I think the body kicks will be big, and I think he gets TKO late. Main event time, Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. I'm taking Yuri. I mean, I have to. He's one of my favorite, if not my favorite fighter to watch of all time. I mean, is that crazy to say that? I mean, it's my opinion. What do I mean? Is it crazy? It's my opinion. Yeah, he's probably my favorite fighter to watch of all time. I mean, like prime Oliveira, maybe trumps Yuri, but anyways, I do think Yuri, if he survives the first round with the left hook threat that Ulberg poses, if he's able to stay out of the way of that and he gets out of the first round, early second round, I think it's probably over. But like I said, Ulberg is looking for the left hook early. He's looking to land a looping shot of some sort, typically the left hook, and he's looking for it early. He's looking to press forward. He's looking to unload in combination to an extent. He's looking to lead his combinations with the low kicks and sometimes even end them with the low kicks. But typically the main setup point is the lead hook, and Yuri is hittable early. So that's the worry, is like, okay, does Ulberg actually land that early or not? But the only people that we've seen like flatten him and like put Yuri down out, Alex. Only Alex. We saw Glover hurt him, I guess. Even Khalil was landing clean shots for 2 rounds, for 2 whole rounds. Khalil sparking up Yuri the whole time. Never really hurt him. Like, I remember a few shots in the second round that Khalil landed where he finishes like a 4 or 5 punch combination, lands 4 of them, and Yuri is like he wanted more. It's like hitting him is gonna like make the outcome for you worse. Pressure is gonna be the name of the game here for Yuri. I think that the teeps here are actually gonna be a really, really big deal. Because with Yuri's teep kick, it's not necessarily a stab every time. A lot of times it's actually a push to create space, and they kind of get back to that space, which is kind of weird because a lot of times when you see people use that pushing teep kick, it's used for longer fighters to kind of sit back at range and get their space back so they can fully reset, which is weird because Yuri will use it and then just kind of like run back into range, but he does reset with it, which I think is huge, because if Ulberg is trying to land that one huge shot early, I think if you're able to stab that up in there with the high guard that Ulberg has, and he is very defensively responsible of his head, the body's going to be open, and if you're able to use that, push him off, create space, kind of get a little bit of wear and tear on him early, that takes away a lot. And then eventually Yuri will turn it on. He obviously will throw in these weird attacks, flying knees. He'll just jump at you for no reason. No attack. Like, he's not throwing it. He's just jumping. But the worry is, it's like, okay, but like he could jump and then like kick me, or he could jump and then there's a knee, or he could jump and throw a punch. He'll throw weird shit like that, and then like he'll jump, not throw anything. The guy will think, oh, I'm good now. That was weird. He just jumped. And then Yuri will just throw like a traditional 1-2 and it lands clean. He mixes up these like traditional, fundamentally sound attacks with the autistic attacks, and it works like I've never seen it before. It's crazy. That, and I do want to mention autism is one of the best bases for MMA. Like, if you are a complete retard, maybe not I don't want to call Yuri a retard, but like, he's out there, you know, like the guy's he's a character. We'll say that. It works. It fucking works. If you're a little bit of a psycho and you don't really have a plan, if you're Yuri at least, it works. And that's the less technical side of things. I know I'm talking about like teeps and open stances and pushing to get back to space. He has autism, and it's awesome, and it works. That's all I got for you. Those are my picks for UFC 320. What is this, 327? I appreciate you. I did just drop a video. It is these 5 things are destroying the UFC, so go check that out. I posted that on Wednesday. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe per usual, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.